Right, moving on to the final scenario, and the researcher wants to look at the what effect having an ice bath after a high intensity routine has on recovery. The researcher will leave the participants in the bath for 10 minutes, leaving them unattended for some of this time. All the participants' names were written on a whiteboard so that everyone that uses that room can see who is involved in the test. The individuals were not told the exact temperature of the ice bath, and other participants could hear results being discussed. So to begin with, we'll look at the first paragraph. So the researcher wants to look at the effect on ice baths. However, when the participants are actually in the ice bath, the researcher leaves. Obviously, this is a massive health and safety risk, and the researcher's responsibility is obviously to remain in the room at all times, as they're, at the end of the day, they're in water, so this could potentially lead to physical harm, drowning, if for whatever reason the individual loses consciousness. So it could cause massive physical harm, and obviously the legal side of this, for leaving people unattended and neglecting them, you could look, if they seriously hurt themselves, at prison time, but definitely suspensions, fines, and definitely a lot of professional credibility would be questioned after leaving people in a particular ice bath or in the room on their own. Moving on to the second bit. So, all participants' names were written on a whiteboard. Of course, this is a massive breach of confidentiality. And although it might only be people within the test that see these, it could be other people from outside the research, people that perhaps the paperwork before didn't state was going to know about the results and was going to know about the findings, and some of this information could potentially be shown on this whiteboard. It could cause the individuals a bit of emotional harm if they're worried about who knows about their information, and it's just it could cause the researcher to have to look at some ethical training, and definitely question his professionalism. Then finally, looking at the individuals, and they were not told the exact temperature of the bath. This is, of course, deception, and could cause the individuals a lot of emotional harm, because at the end of the day, they don't know what kind of temperature they're getting into. They don't know what to expect. Their body could tense up a bit, as obviously they're not going to be prepared for exactly what they're getting into. And this is incredibly unprofessional, and of course ethically it's not right, because you're not telling all the information and giving all the details about what the individual's going to be going through. And then finally, the other participants could overhear results. Again, this is a big breach of confidentiality and particularly data protection, as anyone walking past, other participants, maybe it's not so much of an issue, but it's still, depending on what it says on the confidentiality sheet about who's going to know about the information. Obviously, if other people can overhear results being discussed and shouting maybe results out, then of course this becomes an issue, because people would start to question the professionalism of this researcher. It could cause a bit of emotional harm, and obviously basis accreditations could be at effect. Finally, just to mention that with all of these, it's important to look at the risk-benefit analysis, the ratio of whether the benefits you're going to get from doing the test outweigh those of the risks that could cause potential harm to individuals, emotional harm, physical harm. This ratio needs to be extremely more in the benefit side rather than the risk. Otherwise, it won't be granted to be allowed to happen, and it then becomes unethical. And then, obviously, from the ethical issues that arise from it, potential legal issues could rise.